Women podcast. For your career and your life, no matter what business you're in.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Northern Power Women podcast. I'm Sam Walker. She is Simone Roche. I know we're on season 3 now, of course, brought to you by Be Heard Simone. But we are just over a year on from when you and I started talking on a weekly basis. And I've had that sort of strange feeling this week of the world sort of blending and merging into one time zone. Do you know what I mean? And I know you've been on Zoom for most of your life this week. And this week, I suppose, having gone past that year, and we heard Boris Johnson stand up last week and talk about it being a year, it's felt like a bit of a milestone, but at the same time felt like 5 minutes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't see it coming, actually, even though obviously the date has been, I suppose it's etched on a lot of our minds since that sort of stay-at-home kind of call.
Yeah.
But maybe it's because I'm opting out. I've been opting out of news a little bit, so I hadn't kind of seen the build-up to it. And so there was a minute's silence last week, and it was actually, we were actually hosting the closeout of our peer networks group, and there was a couple of people that didn't join us on the call because of how they were just dealing with things. And I think it's people are dealing with it in different ways, and actually, so you've got to deal with it in the way that sees fit. But I think it's had lots of different reactions from different people. But I agree, it felt very like, oof. Right, okay. I am going to take a deep breath here, and I don't know that I felt a bit. I don't know. Numb is not the word.
I don't know the word either. I know what you
Stagnant.
mean.
Help us out. Help us out. Ask Twitter. Asking for a friend. Me. I don't know what the word is. It's not. It's not. It's like suspended in animation. That's more than one word. I get that, but there's something, isn't there? There's something really weird. Like I'm in the middle of a big jelly or a blancmange or something, and it takes me back to school dinners. You can tell.
I really want a blancmange.
Yeah. Oh, basically, should we just say we're just not with it? Just not with it, I think.
People might say that's not news, Simone, but there you go. Look, though, seriously, despite the kind of strangeness of this situation and feeling like you're being suspended in jelly / blancmange, and now I'm hungry for both, you have been crazy busy this week. How many speaking gigs have you had? 8, 9? 9. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, it's not Be Heard for nothing. And it's weird because this was 2 weeks, if you like, after International Women's Day. So it's almost like everything came all at once. So I think, where are we? 3 different podcasts, panels, the peer networks, an amazing Dragon's Den event that we've done for our Youthquake. Oh, spoiler alert, you've got to listen, check on the Northern Power Futures podcast and listen to the Youthquake special edition. These fantastic young people from really sort of, challenged sort of backgrounds and displaced backgrounds, and have come up with these two projects, and I had the honour to interview them. So it's been a real mix, if you like. So we've gone from, I've been interviewed, to me interviewing other people, to then curating this amazing panel of voices. I was really adamant that this Northern Powerhouse event that I was asked to get involved in, that we would have younger voices, younger than me anyway. So, and the whole conversation was what can CEOs do about Black Lives Matter and Black heritage. And it was a really explicit topic, and it was fantastic. If you get the chance, we will be sharing the links, but listen to that. Vimla Apadu, Afia Amesu, Curtis and our good old friend Ganan. I said older. She's going to kill me for using that word. Edit that out, please. But again, it's been a proper, I feel like I have been on a dozen trains, and I think I've put my mind down to that. And I'm procrastinating about lots of things as well, because I just feel like I'm going from one session to another. And, I'm super grateful for having these platforms. And, we want people to take platforms. But yeah, I had some great podcast interviews. Obviously, we have our own weekly chat as well, but different topics this week, from the peer networks, which was the closeout session for our Lancashire Peer Networks group. 10 phenomenal entrepreneurs. on that journey with our friends Jane Dalton and Alex Cousins, and we've got these brilliant, many of them we've talked about on the podcast, including Dot and Goats on Zoom, you may recall.
Made it to American TV, absolutely. She's global goats.
Well, one of the things at the end, we asked for their reasons to be cheerful and their high fives, you know, and that was one of them. It's having the power of this peer-to-peer has really hit home to me. We came into the first lockdown this time last year, starting our 2.0 peer networks. And I've always, we talk about mentoring a lot and allowing yourself the space to invest in yourself and stuff. But this peer networks, the power of these communities, of these networks is priceless. And we're really proud that we've not just done a cut and paste job of what we did last time, that the content is totally sort of bespoke because it has to be purposeful. But what has happened? I've got Liz advising, she's talking about, you've got to make sure, my big advice, make sure you look after the cash, and we've got, it's just different. Make sure you shout your story from the rooftop, Susanna was shouting. But one of the things we had an ask for was that everyone should bring somebody with them, like a pay it forward. And we had these little sort of knowledge exchanges before we started into the podcast recording, which will be out later this week. But just instilling the power of community, instilling the power of building your network, instilling the power of asking for help. It was just so beautiful, I would say. These brilliant women with their mentees or people that they're paying it forward to, just generously giving their time, energy, spirit to support each other and others. So big high five. That's there's an early high five for me, but early high five for those women this week. But listen out for their podcast, come out later this week.
Yes, so this is my job now I've got my notebook out. So lot there that's been going on in the Northern Power Women world and Northern Power Women adjacent world. But the two things really for you to take away, please, is to go and listen to the Northern Power Futures podcast. They're two little baby podcasts, the Youthquake edition. As Simone said, these are young, quite often displaced, challenged kids who have been given the opportunity to create a business idea that actively impacts their community in a really positive way. They've come up with the whole idea themselves and then they pitched it. And they've never done anything like that before. You know how frightening it is when you do your first pitch at a meeting anyway. So they've done an incredible job. So that's the Youthquake edition 1 and 2 on the Northern Power Futures podcast. And then coming up this Wednesday, by the time you listen to this, you might well be out. I don't know what day you listen to the Northern Power Women podcast, but you will be able to hear a special edition, which, as Simone said, is the peer-to-peer networking, the sort of climax of the peer-to-peer networking. And it's going to be a great way not only to really understand how powerful those communities are, but get some great ideas. I've already taken notes. So do listen into that, please. That's the peer-to-peer networking special edition of the Northern Power Women podcast. I think we should get to some life lessons because I'm excited by this week's. I love them.
Oh, and I'm loving the new questions. Are you? It's nice just to have sort of the sort of different approach. And this week we've got Jen, who is a director of data in financial services. She's got 8.5 years of experience across financial services, product development, digital marketing strategy. And she is a massive advocate for encouraging diversity in the data industry and believes that breadth of experiences and backgrounds build the best products. Here's Jen Drabble.
Hi, my name is Jen Drabble and I'm a Director of Data in Financial Services. What's a commonly accepted rule of business that you found not to be true? Having to be professional. This kills the human element. It isn't authentic and it also ruins our speech with all that corporate jargon. How you act, so being courteous, on time, respectful, is far more important, and that's a bit to focus on. What has surprised you about working life? The thing that surprised me the most has been thinking that people know the answer. The more exposure I get, particularly to more senior roles, the more I've realised that everyone's on a learning journey. It's no fun to be in a role that you can do with your eyes closed. It means you're not growing. So everyone's really in the same boat. They're all trying to explore and grow in their roles. When has a failure turned out to be a positive experience? I think every failure can be a positive experience. We learn so much from our experiences, and when we stop experiencing, we stop learning. Asking yourself, what did I learn, is a really great way to pause and reflect, which often we don't give ourselves the time to do. It's particularly helpful after a tough situation because it allows you to reframe what can be a really negative experience into something you can positively take away from it. How did you ask for a pay rise? Firstly, be armed with data. Data trumps emotion in this conversation. Do your research, understand comparable roles and their going rates and how that compares to you. You could even ask some friendly recruiters to help you with the market mapping if needed. Next, really prepare for the conversation. Think about who your line manager or decision maker is and what works best with their style. What you're aiming for here is to really get their buy-in and backing to support you in this process. Also, don't treat it as a once and done conversation. Lay the groundwork over a series of conversations and be prepared to revisit it even if your first answer is no. And then the final thing I would say would be understand the different options that make up your compensation mix. So this will be many different elements: your base salary, your potential bonus, benefits, stock options, hours worked, holiday days, etc. So if you can't reach an agreement on your base salary, there could be room for negotiation in other areas. What's the one thing everyone should put on their CV but often miss off? I really like it when people talk about what makes them happy at work. It's a really simple way of outlining for the person reading it what you enjoy about the job and what gives you energy, and it really just brings your CV to life.
Thank you so much to Jen Drabble for the life lessons this week. So much in there that I really want to unpick. I loved her little throwaway line at the beginning that having to be professional isn't the most important thing in your career and in business, because it kills the human element. There is such a strange vibe among a lot of corporate America, Simone, that I've seen since working here, is that certain execs, you get to a certain level of the company and other people in the company almost revere you like you're a king or an emperor. And I'm like, they're just people. I don't care if they're chief so-and-so officer for blah. She's just a mum, isn't she? And I've not got into trouble, but there's been a few moments where I've kind of had someone's had a quiet word and gone, don't email her directly. Don't speak to her directly. She's very important. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? I don't get it. I think you should treat people as people. And as long as you're being respectful, if you're working with them and polite and listening and all the rest of it, I don't understand why just going, hi, how you doing? Insert first name here. Oh, don't talk to them directly. It's so strange. So I really, really loved that. And I loved her comment as well right at the end about what everyone should put on their CV about what makes us happy. Why don't we do that? Let's start that campaign, Simone.
I love that, because actually that's what makes you, isn't it? That's what makes you about you. I had a really great call today with the with ITV News, about the Be Heard campaign and using the portal and stuff like that. And I said, often that's the fear, isn't it? It's not about you talking about being a data scientist. It's about often that you're going to get called up for talking about the thing that's your side hustle or what you're passionate about. So I absolutely advocate for that totally. What makes you happy, because that is you. That is absolutely you. The thing I love from Jen as well was the ask for a pay rise. I love the phrase, data trumps emotion in this conversation. Be armed with the data.
Yes.
So I thought that was a really good top tip. There's a brilliant woman out there called Natalie Reynolds, and she does this fantastic course on negotiation, and she demonstrates it in the form of an arm wrestle. In fact, one of our MPW live talks from 2017, gosh, I think it's still there online. Got to look at it, but it's just brilliant. But I love that. Be armed with the data. Data trumps the emotion. I thought that was hysterical. It did made me chuckle.
Someone once gave me a really good bit of advice about complaining being exactly the same thing. Know what you're asking for, because they said, do you know what? If you go and complain to a company and say, I'm really not happy with this product or service, please listen to me. Companies are like, meh, yeah. But if you go, I'm really not happy with this product and service, and here is what I want from you, either a replacement, a refund. If you tell them what you want, you are actually much more likely to get an immediate response than just going, oi, I'm unhappy, listen to me, because they're just like, and what do you want? So I love that. Go into a pay rise with all your data, knowing what you want to ask for. And if you ever complain, make sure as well you clearly stipulate what it is you want. Oh, I feel like we're consumer gurus today, Simone.
We are, aren't we? We are. Gosh, Martin Lewis needs to move over, I reckon. But I loved as well. Actually, Jen's also, she's not only shared her life lessons and the companion blog. And if you haven't read that yet, we've got wonderful Gina Buckle who works with us, and she has been to sort of to really complement. She's created these companion blogs. So because we're always mindful, aren't we, that people engage in different ways. So if you've listened to the life lessons, go and read a little bit more. They're absolutely brilliant. But Jen also, because she's obviously had just a lot of wanted to share this week, but Jen has also got a high five, and her high five, which is our new feature, isn't it, of wanting to ask what's your high five, what or who is your high five of the week, and hers was getting back to wild swimming on Monday. Restrictions lifting and getting back into the water. She's so excited. So a massive high five from Jen to all the wardens who will be making it happen. How cool is that?
I love it. Look, before we get into more high fives, I do want to say life lessons. We've got a whole bunch of new questions. There's some great ones in there. As you can tell, Simone and I love looking at them, hearing them, sharing them with you. So please get in touch. Just send us an email, podcast@northernpowerwomen.com, and we'll do the rest, because we would just love you to be part of this podcast and to hear your life lessons. And of course, as you've said, Simone, your high fives as well. We're going to do this every single week. We just want to raise our spirits, bring some positivity to still what is a very challenging world. So your high fives, please. Who or what do you want to high five this week? We've already heard from Jen. Simone, who's next?
We've got Sophie Hansen. Sophie's got promoted. Tell us what you got promoted to. Let us know more. We want to do that. We've got Zoe. Zoe's also applying to be a local school governor and hoping she'll be able to support the community. There's somebody else about paying it forward.
I need to tell you a quick aside about school governorship. So many years ago, a governor's post came open at my daughter's schools when we were still in Manchester. And the girl said to my husband, "Why don't you apply, Daddy? You apply, you apply." He went, "I don't really have time." He said, I'm excited by it, but I really don't have time to do that. And they said, "Oh, no, please apply." So anyway, he said, "Okay, I'll put my name down." But there were people literally, when we got the little hustings form back, there were people who were like, "I've been a school governor loads of times. I've got all this experience. This is what I'd bring to the table." And it was just, and then there was him going something like, "Oh, I'm a dad of 2 and I quite like computers." I mean, it wasn't quite that bad, but it was a very, very poor pitch on the sheet. So we were laughing at how embarrassingly bad his pitch was. But of course, this note went home with all the parents for the whole school. What happens? My eldest daughter, who, mark my words, is going to be a politician, went round basically just chivvying up blooming support for him, got all her friends to tell their parents, "Vote for my dad." He got more votes than every other candidate put together.
Brilliant. See, it's all about your power of your network, isn't it?
It's the power of your network.
Number one cheerleader. Number one cheerleader is your daughter. I mean, it's fantastic. We've got Advita Patel. She puts a high five out to all the incredible speakers at the Diversity in Action Conference, which I took part in on Tuesday. And it was a really brilliant discussion. This is a cross-globe kind of conversation. So we were on time zones all over the place. And we've got Jessica Williams, who's high five to the Assist Network on the continuous support of women throughout the Tees Valley 1 year on from lockdown. Lovely Laura Hepburn's part of that community as well. And it really is impactful. And then I want to send a big hug out to the Financial family who've just lost their nana, and also just all the strong women who are pulling together, organising the world. High five to them.
Yeah, loads of love, and sending love to you. But yes, I agree. Who Run the World, girls, was playing in my Pilates class the other day as I was crying with the pain. It was fabulous. What's your high five this week, Simone, before we disappear?
Oh my goodness. My high five this week is actually probably my microphone. My microphone that's kept me audible throughout the whole of this week. It's been brilliant actually to have all these sort of different conversations. But actually, you know what my high five is for? On Monday, gosh, it was a week ago, we started off the week with another one of our giant carousel networking with Liverpool John Moores University, specifically around the topic of leadership. So a massive thank you to all of the students that came out of their comfort zone and had conversations with some of our fantastic community. So a big high five. I know it's a challenging time, isn't it, at the moment for those in education and trying to figure out what's next. So those that went into it and just had conversations with strangers and then was just so full of it on LinkedIn and on email and stuff. So massive high five for those. You've just started building your network. Congratulations.
Brill. My high five this week goes to myself for not being the pilot of the Ever Given, the ship that has been blocking the Suez Canal. Every time I've seen that, I've thought, do you know what? Be thankful you're not that pilot. Imagine them just going, I've done something, phoning the boss. There's been something's happened, blocking 12% of the world's global trade. I mean, oh my gosh, we need to be thankful for these things. This is what we need to do.
Indeed. But I love these high fives, don't you? It's like it's really good, and it comes from, I think we said last week, every Friday we have a team. It's our last meeting of the week, and we have a team gathering. It's 30 minutes, and we just go around and just ask everyone what their high five is. So please keep sharing them with us, because it's really important, and actually just keeps me and Sam amused as well.
Why not? We need something, bless it, in our old age, in our golden years. It's happy days. Simone, as ever, marvellous to see you. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening. Do get in touch. We want to hear your life lessons. We would love to hear your high fives. Big up someone or something in your life that has given you some joy and some support. podcast@northernpowerwomen.com is where you can email, or of course you can get in touch on social media at North Power Women on Twitter or at Northern Power Women on Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. The next episode is coming your way on Monday, April the 5th. Until then, she's Simone Roche, I'm Sam Walker, and the Northern Power Women podcast is a What Goes On media production.